Good day, students. Today I will be going over how to set up your second lab for the stats course. So this is your lab assignment. You are asked to download some hockey data, and then we're going to summarize it and present it in a graph. So the first thing I need you to do is go to the NHL.com site, which we have right there. So it's NHL.com, click on stats, and then from there you click on teams. I need you to select a season based on your last digit of your student number. I have selected 2001-2002, so you select it there as well as selecting it in that window as well. Click go and you'll get your data like this. If you put your cursor right next to that one, highlight all the way down for your last row of data, Control C, and you take it into an Excel sheet, and let's paste it in A5. It'll look like that. In your Home tab, you can click on Wrap Text. You might have to click that a couple of times. That way the team names are all listed like that. Here you're going to put your name and then your last digit of your student number, for example. And then you need to select two columns of data to work with. I'm going to select this column and this column. So I'm going to get rid of the other columns. What I want you to do according to the instructions is not choose the first 4, 5, 6 columns of data. They all refer to wins and losses, games played, and so forth, and it doesn't present and graph as nice. So let's get rid of 2 columns, or everything but 2 columns. And you'll notice that from the NHL.com website, the titles do not copy over. But what you'd have to go back and do is just remember what columns you've chosen. 270 and 29.2, and they refer to goals for or GF column and shots per GP. So I'm going to title those there. Oops, this is goals for and this is shots. And don't be worried that you don't know what the actual variables or column headings represent. Later on in the report you'll need to tell me what the definition is of the data you've selected. So if you go back into the website, if you just scroll over various column headings, it will then tell you what it represents. So PK percent stands for penalty kill percentage. So in your report, just tell me if you've chosen that column, tell me that PK percent means penalty kill percentage. I don't need any more than that. So once it's in Excel, where was it? It's here. Here's my 2 columns. Your report asks you to calculate quite a few variables. I've done that on sheet 2. So you have all my data. I'm going to unhide the middle rows. There's all my data from 30 hockey teams. I have the count, which is the equals count function, mean equals average, bracket, highlight all your data, median, max, min. The range is not a function, it's just a formula where equals, click on the value for max, minus click on the value for min. The IQR, as you remember, is a difference between the 3rd quartile and the 1st quartile, or it's a difference between the 75th percentile and the 25th percentile. So I've entered 2 quartile functions in one cell. So I have equals quartile, bracket, highlight all your data for the first column, comma 3 representing the 3rd quartile, which would give you the same result as the 75th percentile. And then just immediately after the bracket, I enter the quartile again. I go minus quartile, bracket, highlight all your data, comma 1 for the 1st quartile. The variance is using VARP function. Standard deviation is STDEVP. Make sure you get the right functions for the variance and standard deviation, because Excel has a few different ones. The 90th percentile equals percentile, bracket, highlight all your data, comma. Now remember, for percentiles, you can't just enter 90. It has to be expressed as a percent or as a decimal number. So the 90th percentile would be written as 0.9. The optimal number of classes uses this formula. So remember, in Excel, anytime you use a formula, you start with the equal sign. So it's 1 plus 3.33 times, which is that shift 8, that asterisk symbol, log in brackets, your count. So I have 30 hockey teams, so I could have entered log bracket 30, but I've chosen to link that to the actual count value I have in cell D36. The optimal class width is your range, which is in my cell D41 divided by that OOC number. So my optimal class width is just over 21, and this becomes an important value, which is why I've highlighted it. The coefficient of variation expressed as a decimal point or as a percentage is standard deviation divided by your mean. So just go equals, click on the standard deviation value, click on the mean, change that to a percent. Now the beauty of Excel is if you've entered these formulas correct for the first column of data, all we have to do is drag those over or copy them over. So you can go copy and paste in this cell, or you move your cursor till it shows that black plus sign, dragging it over. These represent the values for the second column of data. So you don't have to enter the formulas twice. So getting back to the first column of data, my class width is 21.457. I would probably choose a class width of 20, which then we have to go down and create a data table, starting with the value that would include your minimum. My minimum is 168. So my first class I've chosen to be from 160 to under 180. My next class 180 to under 200, going up by 20s. That's what I've chosen here. And I go up until the maximum value, which is 295, is included in the last column, or the last classification. This is the bin number, something that Excel needs to help you create that histogram and the data table. So remember, the bin number is slightly less than the upper limit of each class. So my upper limit of first class is 180. I'm going to write 179.9. Because these are all whole numbers, probably 179 would work, but I'm just going to be extra careful. So these are all going up by 20 as well, and they should represent the bin numbers, one slightly less than the upper limit in each class. So once I have the bin number and the classes, I can go into data, the data tab, data analysis, and remember, if you don't have the data analysis tool, you have to add it in by going File, Options, Add-ins, click on Go, and just make sure that this first one has a check mark. So under Data Analysis, we want the histogram function. We're going to select the data in the first column. With this report, you have two columns of data. You're going to have two data tables, and you're going to have two histograms. So the bin numbers are the numbers that I've created down here, A57 to A63, and make sure you click on Chart Output, because that gives you this histogram on a new sheet. We don't need the frequency legend. Get rid of the last row, that row that contains more, making sure that there's a 0 in that. Now if you only delete it like this, you'll notice that the space is still a part of the histogram. So what we want to do is actually right click on that row number and delete, and it disappears from your histogram. To make that histogram a little more readable, we want to copy over the classes that you've created in that former sheet, paste it right there. You can extend it, make this histogram a little bigger, so then it appears the classifications on the x-axis. We want to format that data series, get that down to 0%, and there is our histogram. So you have to do that twice, 2 data tables, 2 histograms. One thing else in our report is I'm asking you to find all the values that are greater than the 90th percentile. So go back to our data. Our 90th percentile is, let me color code that, is 270.4. So basically any value in this column that's greater than 270.4 would be in the 90th percentile. Easiest way to do that is if you highlight all your data and go into sort and filter. Actually, let's just filter that. And then we want to filter that GF column. We want to filter largest to smallest. And there they are. Basically, the 90th percentile is going to be those top 3 teams. So those are the 3 teams. I can copy those out and paste them there. Eventually, that would be part of the Word document that I also need for your report. If you want to get the teams back to where they were, you can sort that first column 1 to 30, or you can just leave it as is. The last thing you need to do is calculate the grouped mean. You have on one sheet you have your mean, but now I want you to go and calculate your grouped mean. So to do that, you're going to need to find the midpoint. Midpoint is the middle value of each group. Because my classes go up by 20, my midpoints are also going to go up by 20. So if your class width is 10 or 15 or 0.5, your midpoint value is going to go up by that same amount. Calculating that group mean, we multiply the frequency with the midpoint. We add that column up. We add that column up. And then basically we just divide the total divided by the frequency, and that is our grouped mean. Let's just write that in there, group mean. I'm going to list here the raw mean, the ungrouped mean. I'm going to link that by using the equal sign. I'm going to go find the mean of the raw data, the list data, and I have a grouped mean average of 226.67 and a raw mean of 226.07. The report asks you to explain why they're not equal. We've talked about that in class as well. The grouped mean is, there's some assumptions that we make in order to calculate that group mean.